5, 4, 3. Today's, oh, 5, 4, 3. Welcome to Just Lyrics with Jake Michael. Today's guest is Jim Harris, who has been writing lyrics for a million years and has performed everywhere. Because I don't believe in introductions, I will begin with the first question. When you were 5 years old, what sort of music did you hear? So this is when you were a little tiny kid. What were you listening to that may have influenced your later songwriting expertise?
Wow. What a surprise. But you know, it's funny, but my mom bought records. So I remember a little yellow record because they came in colors back then. And it was the Teddy Bear's Picnic. That's one of the earliest ones I remember. You know that song?
I know of it. I don't think I could
If you
hum it.
go into the woods today, you're in for a big surprise.
Oh, yeah.
You go into the woods. It was made famous later by a local band called Sweet Stavin' Chain with Danny Strobin, but I heard it probably at the age of 5.
What else was going on in the air at the time? Like what would your mom listen to that you might absorb by osmosis?
She loved Benny Goodman, Tommy Dorsey, all that kind of stuff, the big bands. She was born in 1905, and she married a Navy man after the war, and so they were into all that kind of stuff that was popular during World War II.
Uh-huh. All right, fair enough.
And I love big bands. I always have.
What was the first song you wrote that made you think that I could be a songwriter? That wasn't just, well, you know, that wasn't just...
No, I actually have an answer for that, and it's politically incorrect, but...
Good, all the better.
It was called Ugly Irma. And Irma was the daughter of the superintendent of the apartment that we lived in. And she was a bit older than me. I was probably 11 or 12. And she had a crush on me. And so I don't know if I can say it, but she was the first girl who ever showed me anything, if you know what I mean. She pulled her shirt up one day. She said, "You ever seen this before?" And I was afraid of her, but I wrote a song and I called it Ugly Irma. And many of my early songs were about bad experiences with women. So those were my earliest songs.
This is 12?
Yeah.
Can we hear a bit of it? I've never heard it.
God, I can't even remember. You know, I can't remember the lyrics. I just remember the title. But I had other ones. They were always about running away from one girl or another. I had one called When Times Get Bad. You can count on me to be as far away, you know, as I can be. I don't look for trouble and I don't plan to find it. So if and you land in jail, don't come looking for me. I'll be gone when times get bad. They always had a kind of bouncy, I don't know what, Midwestern bounce to them.
Were you playing guitar at that point?
My first instrument was the ukulele, which I know you're very fond of the ukulele.
Right.
So, and I moved on to guitar at the age of 12. And
what year would that be?
59. And my mom got me a guitar from the Wurlitzer Corporation, who had a place downtown somewhere near the Wanamaker. And I would go there once a week on the bus with my guitar and take a guitar lesson. They were mainly known for organs, but they sold guitars too.
Yeah. And so our listeners know this all takes place in Philadelphia, mostly in the Germantown, Marin area, Chestnut Hill. That's where you grew up and where you currently live. And now you're frozen up.
You're frozen. And now you're unfrozen.
Okay. Okay, this is a make-believe question. It's 1964. You want a job in the Brill Building, being a songwriter. Do you know the Brill Building?
Yeah.
Okay. Why should I hire you to be a lyricist? Because I think they had some people who were just lyricists, like, what's his name? Harry David, who was with Burt Bacharach, had a lyricist. So you need to convince me that I should hire you as a lyricist.
I think Larry David worked on a TV show with.
I think it was Harry David.
Al David.
Al David, okay.
Al, yeah. Well, by 1964, I loved the Beatles, and a lot of people said that my songs reminded them of Paul McCartney's style. So, but then again, 64 is pretty early. The Beatles had just broken, so.
But I want to hire you so you can write for $1 million. You got to convince me to hire you. I just hired Neil Sedaka and Neil Diamond, and your name isn't Neil. So why should I hire you?
Because I'm young and I'm hip, and I know what the kids are listening to. I could I had gone beyond the ugly Irma stage at that time. I was 17. I had a lot of songs. I could have brought a tape of my songs and played some for you.
Yeah. And what would have been the style of those songs?
Well, I said, I was very influenced by the Beatles and the Beach Boys. Even before the Beatles, we were into the Beach Boys. I had a group called the Dirt Bombs, and we did weird stuff. I remember we did When You Wish Upon a Star, but we did it like up tempo. That was modeled after Conway Twitty, where we started it real song, When You Wish Upon a Star, and we go 1, 2, 3, 4, when you wish upon a star. The Brill Building wouldn't have hired me. I was too young and inexperienced. Now I'm ready.
Okay, so let's say right now you want to get a job as a lyricist at the Brill Building, and it's not 1964, but for some reason they're hiring lyricists again. It's, COVID. Things are upside down.
Oh.
Why should I hire you now, Jim of the present, rather than Jim of the past?
Well, I've got a whole boatload of songs, and many of them are about topical issues, like I'm working on one now it's called A Better Place, and it's about making a better world for people to live in, and people who've been abused and kept down. And many of my songs are about kindness and compassion and things that are in need. I don't know how popular they are, but I don't write, house music.
Right.
But you could play it in a house.
Okay. So there are many aspects of songwriting. There's impressionistic, there's narrative, wordplay. Could you give an example of a song you wrote that you think has a strong narrative element? A story. Tell us a story.
Mm-hmm. Oh boy. That's a good point, because most of mine are not stories. They're more like poetry. That kind of wordplay and things like that, but a story. Well, I love animals, and I've been influenced by many animal rights topics, things that I've been a part of. So a story I wrote once was, it was called Terrible Ted.
Oh, yeah.
And this woman somehow found out about me and contacted me, and she was trying to save this bear from having to wrestle in bars all the time. And she thought she apparently had a lot of money, and she wanted to not pay me, but put it into a campaign with radio ads and all. And she said that poor Barry, she even tried to buy it from the guy who was taking it around the bars, and he wouldn't sell. So she told me a little bit about it, and
didn't he have his teeth pulled out and his claws pulled out?
Yeah, everything. The claws were pulled out and the teeth. So I wrote a song called Terrible Ted, and it was all about how, he just wants a friend, and he keeps wrestling, but he's hoping there's something better for him down the road. And it didn't work, but I got a song out of it. I mean, as far as I know, she never was able to save him, which is kind of sad.
Huh.
But
Yeah.
that was the narrative.
Great story, Jim. Thanks. Okay.
I saw her on TV. She was on TV, and the lady who hired me. She was on TV, and she went to the bar and got in a fight with the guy, and it was quite an interesting event.
But she had no teeth or claws, so she was unable to defeat him. Okay, how about give a good example of a song you wrote with a strong impressionistic element, which is more your forte.
Impressionistic. Wow. I wish
I always think, to me, that if we have to talk about a song that is impressionistic, I say All Along the Watchtower. Who knows what it's about, but it really gives a strong impression.
Well, I don't know if this is impressionistic, but a lot of an album I'm working on now it's about growing up in the 60s and and things that happened during then and influenced me. And one is called Birds of America, which
I know that one. Yeah, that's the one I was thinking. I was thinking of two songs you have, and that was one of them.
And it's about just the Timothy Leary way of looking at life.
How does that relate to Birds of America, which is a book?
Well, because I pictured my friends, yourself included, as free as birds, like not locked into things like the previous, the greatest generation. We were more open and open-ended with our lives. Not everything was planned ahead, and we moved around, and we were like birds. So I kind of considered that generation to be the birds of America.
All right, that's good.
But I don't know if that's impressionistic.
No, I think it is, because I just remember the song is you go, what's the chorus? The chorus is
running with the restless herds, trying to put it all in words, dedicated to the birds of America.
Right. That doesn't mean anything from a logical perspective.
Yeah.
And yet it's a good song. So I actually even once considered covering it, but it had no meaning. I couldn't figure out what it meant, and I don't know how I could pull it off. So
you're too young. You had to be there.
But out of context, you have no idea no one has any idea that song is about the 60s at all. Having heard it, I can tell you.
It's on one of your albums, Jake.
I know.
But listen, the first line is, "Old Tim Leary had himself a theory." So that puts a date on it right there.
I never thought that did.
Told us all how great it can be. No more fences stifling your senses. New world orders, breaking down the borders. That was when people still believed in the new world order. But
see, I thought that was more of a state of mind than referring to the 60s.
Well, we were all in a certain state of mind back then.
All right, good. How about wordplay? Either interesting rhyming or some sort of interesting use of words, unique, distinctive, something you're proud of, not ashamed of. We'll do that on another show. Everything You're Ashamed Of. That'll be the 4-hour show.
I wish I had a list of songs here I could look at. Wordplay.
Actually, you do a lot of it in a lot of your songs. The one, actually, that line you just did, old Tim Leary,
yeah,
had himself a theory.
Yeah.
Yeah, where that's a rhyme within a rhyme.
Okay. Here's one. You got something?
Go ahead.
Well, this is I told you I'm working on an album which it goes chronologically from 1960 to 1970 of news events, but anyway, it opens up with this thing called expressing. It's all about how that generation was into expressing themselves, and the chorus goes. Well, it opens up with a train of thought which gotteth wrought. I heard somebody say, the human horde is all aboard, expressing all the way. And the chorus of the song is, stay busy, stay dizzy, tomorrow we die. Nothing is serious when you're delirious.
Yep,
so,
that's good. Now, another song you have, which relates to the next question, also has, I think, some really good wordplay in it. And this question is, why is it that the public prefers your hit song to all your other songs? What is it that you think makes that song popular? And your big hit song is, let's say it together, 1, 2, 3.
Wisdom of my youth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which has the double play in that is the wisdom of my youth, something, or you have this thing where youth becomes oldness or whatever.
Oh yeah. And the last chorus is the trees become a forest, I hang on to the child, the journeyman guitarist, the lover of the wild. Yeah, it starts out with oh God. The road is lined with memories 1,000 stories tall. I labor in their shadow, call upon them all. It's true. Well, it was influenced by an actual speech I heard by a professor named Tom Reagan at an animal rights thing. And he said, we have to return to the wisdom of youth, without all the, I don't know, the cynicism and everything that we gather as we grow older.
Right.
And it's funny, it's a song that was written over many, many years because I had like the first couple measures musically, but I couldn't finish the musical phrase. And it took years before it suddenly one night it just hit me and it worked. But yeah, and everybody likes it. I don't know. It proves that you can't be the judge of your own songs. Yep. To an extent. You have to please yourself, as Ricky Nelson said, but you have to understand that other people are going to judge your stuff, and that's important. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. People just seem to like that. It's wistful and what do they? I'm running out of words myself, but it's reminiscent, of being young and how that was, and how you changed over the years. So I guess it's very human.
It's also, I think, nostalgic, but not sentimental.
That's the word, nostalgic.
But it's not sentimental because you talk about in the song something about your dog was your favorite friend, but then the dog. What happens? It's like the dog dies or something.
No, the dog bit off my leg.
That's not part of it.
He shot it. I had to kill it. No, dog does not die in the song.
Yes, it does.
You're thinking of the movie Old Yeller.
No, I'm not.
No, it's my dog was my companion, my family, and oh, you're right. You're right. And every time I lost one, I thought my world would end. When did I grow so graceful? Yeah, that's true. Yeah, because I lost a lot of dogs over the years, and I would just be a mess, for a long time. I forgot about that. Yeah. Yeah. Well, okay. It's part of growing up, I guess.
Cool. Okay, now we're, this only lasts for 20 minutes. It's not very long, so So I move this. I keep things moving along. So now we go into the embarrassing part.
Wait, I have to take my pills.
Those are blue pills. Those are the animal pills. You're not fooling anybody. Oh no! Now we'll have to spay you. So, what critically panned song? So it's a song that the critics don't like, and this can be a musical group, a style. Are you embarrassed to admit that you actually like?
Guilty pleasures. Yeah, I have some of them. I love Meatloaf. I'm sorry.
Uh-huh.
Uh, what's that one? 3 out of 4 ain't bad.
Yeah.
I love you. You know, it's so operatic. So Meatloaf, I like. Most of the stuff I like is popular. You know, I like. I heard the Queen song that they bang their heads to. What is that one?
Yeah.
I like that.
Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah. And
Well, I think the critics like that. I think the critics don't like Meatloaf, but I think Bohemian Rhapsody the critics like.
That's true. Well, I'm saying most of what I like is popular. Like Andy Warhol, somebody said to him one wearing, he said, I would love to wear a t-shirt that 1 million other people are wearing. So I'm kind of in that camp that it's good. I forgot where we were coming from on this.
Well, it's songs that are, guilty pleasures, but I remember you once talking about, I know some people who just think Billy Joel is horrible.
I love Billy Joel. That's perfect. Yeah. I just heard him doing Moving Out on the way home, and I was singing in the car, and Italian, whatever it is, with the bottle of red and the bottle of white.
Yeah.
I like long songs that are kind of operatic in a way, and they have great crescendos, and then they change to another tempo or another key. I like that kind of stuff. So,
he's one of the few hit pop songs that have narratives. He's got a lot of story songs, with a beginning, the middle, and end, and very few people do that. I mean, Piano Man is like one of the is a fantastic narrative story.
So. Yeah, and it's so true to life. It's him. It's his story, and a lot of people can identify with it. Well, I know it was hip to like him for a while, and then Jack Black kind of made fun of him and some other people. But if you listen to his songs like Moving Out and My Life, they were things that he struggled with when he was growing up, and leaving his family and going out on the road, and leaving his parents, I mean. And he's a great piano player, and I always thought he was like a modern Cole Porter. I mean, some of his album cuts are really exquisite,
right?
And
yeah.
They weren't played on the radio,
yeah.
But I'm old school for a lot of stuff.
So now here's the flip side of it. What critically acclaimed song, musical group, blah 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 genre that you're supposed to like, but you don't?
Wow. Well,
like
what?
A buddy of mine says, I don't like, he said, I don't like Bob Dylan. I said, why? And he goes, because his voice is terrible. And I'm like, yeah, you got a point there. Oh, I don't like Pink Floyd. I think Pink Floyd is boring.
Well, I agree with you there. I'm not a Pink Floyd fan. I don't like pretty much anything modern that I hear on the radio today. And I'm not.
Well, that's not critically acclaimed. That's just being cranky old man.
That's true. Yeah, Pink Floyd is a good example because their record producer, the guy who wound up producing their hits, used to work with the Beatles, and when the Beatles came out with Rubber Soul, which had a lot of acoustic stuff, he said, "Oh, this is crap," and he left, and he went with Pink Floyd, which was supposed to be heavy, and the wall. No. So I'm more of a brill building person when it comes to songwriting, and less about heavy rock.
Is there any musical genre other than modern stuff that you know, that you just dismiss flat out?
Well, I'm not a fan of rap, but you can go back to 1980 and they have rap already. It's just that I'm more into melody and harmony because that's where I come from musically. So people talking is not that exciting to me.
How about this one? What are there any classical composers who you don't like? Because I have one that I don't like.
Yeah, I don't like Mahler. I don't like Bruckner. I don't like most atonal music. I liked atonal music better when I was smoking pot all the time, but it doesn't appeal to me anymore. My favorite person, and this is another guilty pleasure, I guess, is Tchaikovsky. He seems very, over the top with his melodic extravagance, but I like him. I like all the big names, Beethoven, Bach. Bach is just like from another planet. He's beyond human ability.
Yeah.
So who I don't like? Who do you not like?
I think, is it Schubert's Unfinished Symphony? I think it's Schubert.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know, it's just too heavy and too much. You know?
I thought it'd be cool to write an unfinished symphony that was just one note. Say, well, I couldn't finish it.
But it's a full orchestra.
Yeah, that's the kind of avant-garde stuff.
Yeah.
Schubert was actually, from what I understand, the guitar player.
Oh, yeah?
Which is very strange, yeah.
Yeah.
And he died very young. Schumann, I find kind of boring. There are people who idolize Schumann. They say Schumann wrote 90 symphonies, and most of them were bad. Yeah. Beethoven wrote 6, and they were all great. Oh, wait, he wrote 9. Yeah, because the 9th is Ode to Joy.
Yeah, that's a good song.
Yeah, all right. I grew up listening to a lot of classical, and I started with Quaker Oats, Shot from Guns, where they played the 1812 Overture on TV. You probably don't remember that, but yeah, I would hear classical on TV and be very influenced by it. Huh. Leonard Bernstein used to do concerts for young people.
Right, yeah. All right, well, this is the end. This thing goes pretty quick because in the modern world, people can't listen to anything for more than 20 minutes. So where can people hear your music online or anywhere else?
Well, nowhere else in the real world.
Right.
But if you, on YouTube, you would go to YouTube and just look up Saint Mad Band, all one word, SaintMadBand, Saint Mad Band, one word. And most of the stuff on there I either wrote or co-wrote. So that's the only place where I have a lot of my original stuff right now.
Okay, good. Well, Jim Harris, thank you very much.
Yes?
You write good songs, Jim.
Yeah, you too.
All right.
Thank you.
Toodles.